Okay, and we are live. And welcome to a lovely another episode of Books and Beyond, episode number 26, where we keep on hitting milestones with this book club, and it's great to see that people are loving it. So then we'll just keep on doing it. And today we have an awesome guest, Laura Bernard. She graciously accepted our invitation to come and talk about her new book, The Impact Engine, who has a very impactful title. And Laura, thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us here, and we look forward to deep diving into the book and your thoughts in the next hour or so.
Absolutely. It is an incredible honor to be able to share with all of these PMO and project people all around the world. I am so excited to talk about the book and how it's already been changing lives. Because, at the end of the day, that's why we do all these things we do, right? All of the time we spend pouring our heart and soul into supporting this community, it's because we got their back and we know what they need to help them thrive and maybe have it a little easier than some of us had when we first got started, right?
Yeah, and you come with such a long experience in the PMO sector. You have what, over 30 years in the field, and
Well, when you say it that way, it's like, oh, yeah. So I'm a good genetics. I'm a lot older than I look. Thank goodness. Yes. Thank you, Mom. But yeah. So I actually was exposed to doing this kind of stuff way early in my career. I was a part of really big business transformation, change, industry leading technologies, bleeding edge technologies, just being a part of stuff that was had never been done before. So I was introduced to big change and the effects it has on people, and being a part of that process from a very, very young age. But an adult, but still very young in my career. And I was in the technology space, but I fell in love with change and bringing people through change and how much they fight you and they don't feel like they're a part of the process. And then in 1999, I got the chance to build my first PMO, and that's where everything really changed for me. So, yeah, it's about 30 years total in business transformation, strategy, and operations, and PMO and project management, with way too many of those years since 1999 being a part of when I built my very first PMO, and it all changed for me.
yeah, but if you think about it, all these years you've been through so many changes, in not just in your space, but also in the world, and you've seen how things have progressed, and how things look like and how they're doing now. So you've been actively contributing to this change. You've had um, you were awarded the PMO, the World PMO Influencer of the Year. Was that in 2021?
Yep, back in 2021. So it's been even a few years since then. But yeah, but we're not stopping, right? We're just getting started as far as trying to really help to elevate the impact that PMOs and business transformation teams can be making in organizations. Because when we get that right, and when we see organizations that get that right, they are unstoppable. So, that's where the real true change in this world happens, and that just is so meaningful to me. Making an impact is not just a thing I say or an acronym in the book or in our training programs. It's truly how it's our mission in life. I feel like it's my purpose in life to help people and help them make a bigger impact, and all the goodness that comes with that. So yeah, it's hard work and meaningful work, and I'm sure we'll get into it a little, but I just had one of my mastermind sessions today with PMO leaders from all around the world, and strategy ops leaders, and business transformation leaders, and they had me in tears because of the huge milestones that they're hitting and the progress they're making, and just being able to celebrate in the progress and the wins that they're making is like, I know I'm doing the work I'm supposed to be doing. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it sounds even more passionate when you're saying it. And you actually stole one of my questions. I wanted to ask you what impact means to you,
Oh,
considering you're using it, not just in the name of the book, but in other areas. And I was just curious how you
Sure.
see the impact. But I think
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, let's talk about that a minute, because there's actually some pretty cool stuff behind it. So I can tell you where the word came from for me, and how it's evolved over time. A few different places. So years and years ago, I did that Strengths Finder assessment. It's called Clifton Strengths these days. But it's an assessment, and I've taken a million of those because I was always really fortunate to be chosen for like leadership development programs early in my career. So every one of those programs comes with some kinds of an assessments of your personality, so whether it's Strengths Finder or the DIS, or now Clifton Strengths, or the DIS profile, there's all these different frameworks, but the idea is they help you gain greater insight into who you are, what your strengths are, what you value, how you operate. And one that really stuck out for me was in the what's now called Clifton Strengths, which a lot of the strengths were around being a part of something big, right? And it wasn't about me needing to be big or influential. It's about being able to a lot of the strengths that came out were about being a part of changing the world for the better, being a part of having a bigger influence or an impact, or being a part of really cool, important things. And so I naturally just want to help people. And that's just who I am. I'm the fixer in my family, or when people are trying to figure out how do we get something done, or how do we solve a problem? My mother taught me very early the word can't does not belong in your dictionary, right? Like you have to, there's no such thing as can't. If you want it, you go get it and you figure out how to do it. So, so I was I've always wanted to be a part of helping people do big things, even if they're complicated, and figuring out how to take those complicated things and break them down into being much simpler, so that we can actually achieve that bigger goal, whatever that is. And when you see the impact that people can have in this world, large or small, it changes lives. And for me, what kept coming up for me as I started to transition out of making a big impact with organizations and the people that I was managing and the work that we were doing, and watching the companies that I was supporting from a PMO perspective grow, thrive, and do big things, make their own impact. There were a lot of lessons in that I'm sure we'll get into, that led me to wanting to start my own company to go help more people make a bigger impact, right? Like it all kept coming back to this. And in the first year starting my company, I went on a retreat with about 10 CEOs to get some pretty intensive coaching from some pretty big influencers in the small business and online business space. And they actually helped me kind of articulate, like Michael Port, he's an incredible guy. He runs a business called Heroic Public Speaking now, which is where I got a lot of my professional speaking training, arguably the best in the world. And I actually mentioned them in the book. And he kept saying to me, he's like, you have said the word impact, I don't know how many times, when he was coaching me. And I was like, he's like, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to help people. And I just kept coming back to, I want to help them make an impact. I want to help them make an impact. So for me, it was all about, how do I want to help people? I want to help people do really cool things, really big things, and change the world for the better. And so to me, the word impact actually meant, let's go change the world together, baby. Right. And that's what it meant to me personally. And then over time, all of these other things kept unfolding for me once I understood that helping people make an impact and helping organizations achieve big things and make an impact on those they serve was really what my life's work was about. So that's kind of how it all unfolded for me, is I just kept saying it and weaving it, but not realizing that was the thing. And now I know that's the thing, right? So that's where it kind of started. And then my dear, dear friend, Mike Hannon, who actually helped me with the book. He actually has his own book out there. I'm going to give a little shout out to his book because it's huge and we use it in our mastermind all the time. That's Mike's book. You got to have Mike on your his book actually hit the 10-year birthday the same year this year that my book was born, right? So we both talked about writing a book at the same time, and I developed the acronym for impact, which we can get into, and what it actually means, which we lay out in the book. So we both talked about it 10 years ago, and my book finally took 10 years to get out, which we can talk about why that took so long. He got his out the year we talked about it, right? So we joke that, we both had the idea at the same time, and we were helping each other kind of craft and frame and think about it. And his book was immediate because he applied some of the techniques he teaches in his book, like theory of constraints and single task focus and staggering and all these other techniques we apply to projects and portfolios. He applied that to getting his book done. Me, on the other hand, I just kept going through like, you know, I'm trying to write a book that's going to change lives. And I'm trying to write a book, for the person that was me back at like where I was in 1999, right? In 1999, when I was trying to build my first PMO and had no idea what I was doing, I I felt lost, overwhelmed, frustrated, confused, and like I don't like I guess I'll just have to figure it out, right? Because remember, can't wasn't in my vocabulary. I'll figure it out. I don't know what we're gonna do, but I'll figure it out. And I figured it out by asking a lot of really good questions and shocking, asking the executives what business problem they wanted solved, right? So over the years, the more I learned about PMOs and this thing I'm building is a PMO and started doing it more and more and really got comfortable with this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I started learning a lot from the experts in the space and things got worse, not better. Because the more they kept telling me that good looks like a bunch of templates and tools and process and all this other stuff, the more that was happening, the more I was like getting resistance, right? From my business leaders and my stakeholders. Like, that's not what I want. Like, listen, no executives is going to come to you and say, hold on. Can you come back when you've got 10 more templates for me to fill out? Right? Like for them, it's not about the templates, it's about the outcomes, right? And the business problems you're solving. So once I understood all of that, and I realized, oh my gosh, if I could teach the people that are just starting out, like me back in 1999, building my first PMO, if I could teach them everything I've learned from the 15 years being inside organizations and now the 11 running my company and working with clients and students all over the world, if I could give them all of that knowledge to start with, how much faster could they make an impact? Like, how much easier could I make it for them than it was for me? It was so darn hard when I first started. It doesn't have to be though, right? It doesn't have to be. And so it took me 10 years to write this book because it took me 10 years to figure out how to get enough, to practice it enough with others, to try it in enough scenarios. Like I've been doing it. I've been doing it for 15 years, but here I'm spending the last decade, or more now, helping students and clients and PMO leaders and strategy delivery leaders and transformation leaders and C-suite executives all over the world do what I did, right? So it took me a decade to figure out how do I perfect the system and prove to myself first and then to others that if you do the work, it works, right? So for me, it wasn't about just theory. It was about, I want real world examples and more again and again and again. I kept trying to break the system. You know what I mean? I kept trying to prove it wouldn't work, to get it to work, if that makes sense, right? Like, let's try every possible scenario. And, a lot of people will, when somebody doesn't want to change, they will find all the reasons in the world why they shouldn't. And so I kept looking for all of those, why this won't work for you because you're special, right? Why won't it work for you? Why won't it work for you? And breaking through all of that and then figuring out how to teach it, how to coach people through it, how to get them the same results. And so I couldn't write the book until I could be 1000% sure that no matter what, it would work for you. Right. And so, because I'm trying to I'm trying to write a book that isn't just about teaching a concept. I'm trying to write a book that's going to change your life. And I know for a fact now that this book does, because we've been running our Impact Accelerator Mastermind for years now, based on the Impact Engine system, which is our full training and implementation program. We've been showing the book that this book talks about, right? This is the book that has all of that in it. This book explains that process, the thinking, the mindset shifts, the implementation approach we use, that we've been using again and again and again and again. And as my mastermind students said again this morning and say all the time, they say, Laura, it's just like you always tell us. If you do the work, it will work. Period. no matter who you are, no matter what company you're in, no matter how many years of experience you have, no matter how many years of experience you don't yet have, whether you know project management or don't know project management, like that's what it's all about, baby. Is like, I know for a fact that no matter who you are, no matter what company you're in, I know it will work. And when it does, it changes your life and it changes the lives of the people around you. And all of you make a bigger impact and your company makes a bigger impact. And there you go. We're actually changing the world for the better, one project at a time.
And it's a
So,
legacy. It's your
what's,
legacy. So the book
yeah,
is your legacy. You invest time and you take your time with when it comes to
whew,
legacy because they live forever.
yeah. And I mean, that's pretty deep, right? Like for me, that's pretty meaningful. I was just emailing back and forth with the woman that runs the publishing company that we used to get this book. It was called traditional trade publishing in bookstores, right? Like you can get it on Amazon, but you can also go like in the US to a Barnes and Noble and get it as well, right? Like kind of distribution. And I was just emailing with her last back and forth yesterday about I put my heart and soul, blood, sweat, and tears, as a lot of people say, and a lot of it into this book to bring it to life because I felt so passionate um, about the people that I wanted to serve, right? And about the people that would benefit when this book was out in the real world. Um, and not everybody can afford to be in our impact engine system training program, which is an investment, but I will tell you, every person that's taken it will tell you that the return on investment for them has been 10 to 100 fold, right? Because it changes their careers, changes their lives, improves their sanity, and reduces their stress. And they get promotions and raises and bigger jobs and bigger roles. And I even tell a story in the book where um, one of our clients, we got the two top executives that were like the chief of staff and head of the enterprise PMO. That's where they ended after a few months of working with us. But we got them both two promotions in a few months of working with them. So that's like the norm, right? They said your consulting services should come with a disclaimer that says um, results may vary or results not typical or something like that. And then I was like, haha, that's funny. And then I was like, wait a minute, actually. And I started thinking about all of our mastermind students and clients, and that's the norm, right? And I mean, but you got to do the work, right, to get the results. But that's the norm. So when I started seeing that all of that reality was happening for our students, and I tell a bunch of examples of stories of success stories in the book, and there's so many more, and I get to spend my time with them and their coaching in the coaching mastermind, where they're just like they talk about their wins and their successes and bigger roles they're taking on and things like that. It's like it it really does. It like I was sappy mess this morning in the mastermind because I was just so proud of the progress that our students are making. And we have students in there that are not just PMO, like first time PMO leaders, or even some that are much more like experienced and have been doing it for a really long time. We also have consultants that apply our impact engine system in their own, like they provide services to their own clients. So we have a lot of small business consultants that use our impact engine system to implement PMOs and strategy delivery and transformation teams for their own clients. And they're all getting huge successes using the same program, right? So you see what I mean? Like to me, I am like the quality and the meaningfulness and the impact had to be so real that I had to be proven to me before I could prove it to others.
Yeah.
And so I just needed years and years of practicing it and refining it and improving it and figuring out how to make this thing the thing that's actually going to change the industry. And that's my dream for this, because I already know it is for our students and clients. So thank you for helping us get the message out about the book so that we can go change the world together.
Yeah, no, I think everybody should be cognizant about the fact that there is an impact to it and a value to it. Um and it's nice that it sounds like the book is developed in a way that it lives through time, so it doesn't matter if we're we're going to use more technology in the future, and we're going to depend more on that, but versus the classical tools, right? It's going
Right.
to be able to apply the same principles regardless of what tools you're using, and
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly right. Yeah, and actually in our mastermind today, we were talking about artificial intelligence and using AI to accelerate the busy work, the admin work, and the lower level things that a lot of PMO people end up having to spend a lot of time on so
Hmm.
that they can be focused on the influencing and the leadership and the business knowledge and the getting their seat at the table and really driving transformation and change in their organizations, bringing people with them through the change process, the true leadership components. So, um, a little um, a little sneak peek into how the book evolves. In the beginning, we focus on the mindset shifts that must be there in rethinking your strategic opportunity as a PMO leader. You're not there to solve templates, tools, and process. Yeah, we can talk about them, but we don't have to talk about them yet, right? First, understand the actual reason you're there, the strategic opportunity in front of you, and then how you can apply a system, including we teach them the impact driver mindset, which I can give you a little tease on if you'd like, um, which is where that acronym comes in. But taking them through all the mindset shifts they must make first. And I used to listen, I am the first person to say, ugh, mindset stuff, just tell me what to do. Right. That used to be me until I truly understood what happens when you shift how you think about your role. And if you want to be seen as valuable, you actually have to be valuable in the eyes, not just to you, but in the eyes of your business leaders and your stakeholders and the people that are relying on you or should be relying on you to help them. Right. So once we get all of that set, then we take them through the stages of implementation, of building, elevating, or even rescuing your PMO or your transformation team. The way the book ends is really helping to, as I like to say, pull the seat out at the leadership table for them. They're pulling the chair out for you to come sit with them because the journey we take you on has this parallel track of we're teaching you what to do, in what order, why that matters, how to do it, the practical and tactical step by step. But the whole time we are taking you on a leadership transformation journey so that by the time you're at the end of the book, you become what we call the strategy navigator for the organization. If you do this, this will happen, right? Your business will insist on it because your business leaders will be seeing so much value from you and the results that they're really looking for that they have no choice but to beg you to be a part of helping them chart the next path, define and deliver the strategy for the what's next for the organization, because they'll need you there, and they'll want you there, which is even more important. Um, so so anyway, that's what we're trying to accomplish with this book, is giving people that seat at the leadership table while positioning them and their PMO or transformation team to be the what we call the impact engine for the organization, the central um, functioning business unit department that is helping to ensure that the strategy gets defined well, delivered well, and then that the strategy is realized in terms of not just the benefits, but the return on investment for those benefits, the actual results, the outcomes that the organization needs for that strategy.
Okay, well, let me ask you then, what would you see the ideal, or the beneficiary of the type of beneficiary of the person that would be reading and taking the benefits from this book? Would it be
Sure.
more people working in organizations, consultants, um,
Yeah.
project managers? It sounds like it's pretty flexible, so anybody who wants to become a leader.
Well, and it's funny you say that because um, there's a group of people that helped make this book a reality, which we definitely can get into more. But um, one of them is my dear friend Kendall that I talk about throughout the book, and um, he is the thought thought leader behind our nonprofit called Project Management for Change and these events we call the Project Management Day of Service. He and I partnered and co-founded, as well as our friend Mike Hannon, co-founded this nonprofit called Project Management for Change. And what they do is help nonprofits get access to project management people and skill sets so that they can achieve their mission critical objectives. And we could talk about it in terms of changing the world one project at a time, right? So we don't just talk about this in our business. This is literally what I do with my volunteer time, right? This is about impact is real for me. But what Kendall has all these Kendallisms that we talk about, and one of them is he said to me early when I was talking about how I applied a lot of what I had been learning and building and running PMOs to us starting this nonprofit and running this big project management day of service event, which we, have been running now for a decade, every year and in different cities around the world. And he said, you have to figure out how to talk about this thing that you do. And then as we were kind of over time and over the years, talking about the things we do, and we talk about, like I talk about adaptive management styles in the book and a lot of organizational change management and leadership stuff. He said, let me ask you this. Could you apply this impact driver mindset to totally different industry, to totally different things? Like, what about these people in these roles? What about these people over here in this thing? He said, what about stay-at-home parents? And I said, actually, and we went through that's kind of how we validated what this impact driver mindset shift thing was all about. It actually works for everyone. Does that mean this whole book is for everyone? No, because if you write it for everyone, you're writing it for no one, right? There's an audience for this book, but it is people that are trying to solve a particular problem, right? And so what one of my I have a mentor and a coach and a trainer that has guided me on this journey of getting this book out of my head onto paper over the last many years. Her name's AJ Harper. She runs this workshop called Top Three Book Workshop. And the whole theory behind it is you're trying to create, like, you're not just writing a book for anyone. And you're not just trying to write a book to get it out there or to be your calling card or your business card. You're writing a book to change lives. And you're writing a book to be like, when people talk about what are your top three books, you want your book to be one of those top three books that they talk about, because it actually changed their lives, made their lives easier, made things better for them. And one of the things she says, gosh, I don't know if I have her book here handy with me. Oh, I do. Shout out to AJ. There's so many good books. She wrote this book called Write a Must Read. And on the back of it, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but this is super important. And I know it's backwards. A book is not about something. A book is for someone. And you can see like how banged up my version is. It's got like sand in it, comes to the beach with me. So, I read it again and again and again, which is what I hope happens to my book. But as you'll see, hers has like this soft cover. There's a reason mine doesn't, which is one of my favorite parts about the book, is that there's no like cover you can take off, because if you're using it the way I want you to, this ideal reader, if you're using the way I want you to, it's going to get banged up, right? Like it's going to, like, you would lose the book jacket if you had one. But her whole point was, know who you're writing this book for and be clear on that, because the clearer you can be on that, the the more you can help them, right? Like that's the whole idea. So this book is for people trying to solve a very particular problem. But the cool thing is it works across industries. We know this because we've proven it now for the last 10 years. Works across industries, different types of organizations everywhere in the world. We have students that are getting certified in our impact engine system approach in countries all over the world. People that have applied this system all over the world. But it's only for people that are charged with building a PMO or a strategy delivery team or a strategy operations function or a transformation group. And we say for PMO and transformation leaders, like that's specifically who it's for. But you don't have to be inside an organization. As I mentioned, we have mastermind students that are at different levels, PMO and well, there's the first timers that are trying to build project management capability in their organization, whether they call it a PMO or not, or the first time PMO leader that's been like, great, you're it. I talk about Samantha in the book. Samantha was a project manager for many years and then transitioned to her first time building a PMO and really, really struggled for a long time. And it's a good story to listen to in the book. And a lot of people said, oh my gosh, Samantha, that's my story, right? So it's people that are trying to do it for the first time, people that are, and some of them have no experience. Like I tell a couple of examples of students on clients that never, they didn't even have any project management experience. No project management experience, no project management training, and yet built a PMO or strategy delivery office that is making huge impact for their organization. So you don't have to already have a bunch of years of project management experience for this book to work for you. But if you do, then it just means you're going to be able to apply more faster, right? So we have people that are in that middle tier that are like more experienced PMO or transformation leaders that have been doing it a while and need to accelerate the impact that they're making, be more, you get their seat at the table, be more involved in the strategy delivery process, the full life cycle of strategy delivery. And then it also works for consultants, people that are responsible for going into other companies to create this capability. But what is the capability they're creating? They're building what we call the impact engine to accelerate the delivery of the organization's strategy. And every single PMO in the world, I don't care what you call it, should be doing that. That's the thing that they are there to do, because you're not there to be the templates and tools and process police. Yes, you can have them, but that is not your job. That is not the role. You are not there to be a directing PMO. You're not, as my dear friend Lee Lambert, which by the way is the only name on the outside of the book, is Lee Lambert, because we've been friends for 20 years now. Actually, yes, this is 2024. We met 20 years ago. We became fast friends when I was on the board of PMI chapters in the DC area. And, you know, he's been a really huge supportive part of my journey for the last 20 years. So I felt like he deserved the spot on the back of the book. And it's really sweet what he says about this book being the mentor that you need to support you on this journey. And that's the whole idea, right? But if you are creating a PMO, a transformation team, a strategy operations function, you know, a project delivery function, a portfolio management function, that function, all of that, is the purpose of it is not just to manage projects. The purpose of it is to help the organization deliver on its strategy. It's to deliver the change. What is strategy? It's the way we are going to achieve our business goals. It's the strategy is the path. It's the chessboard with the map of how we're going to get across that chessboard to the goals, whatever those goals are for the company. They need to do that through change. They need to do that through projects. You can call them big P projects, little P projects. You can call them, you know, Scrum initiatives and nut projects. You can even call them products, because at the end of the day, the product is the thing you're creating, but the project is the thing that drives that creation, right? And that's where a lot of people get confused. Oh, we don't need project management. We have product management. Well, what do you think the changes are that you're doing? Those are projects, by the way, FYI. So whether you call it a product management office, a project management office, you don't want to use those words at all. You want to call it, I always let the executives name it. And usually when I do, they don't call it PMO. They'll call it something like strategy operations, strategy delivery office, things like that, transformation office. That's who we're serving, is the people that are tasked with creating, whether it's one person part-time just to start, or a huge team. One of our clients has a PMO of 300 people, right? So regardless of the size, it will work for you if your job is to accelerate the delivery of the organization strategy, which is the job of every PMO and transformation team. It's how do we get our business goals accomplished through the change we need to drive, and do it in a way that drives the highest possible return on the investment of time and energy and money and resources that this company has, right? That's the goal. And that is how you drive impact. So that's why we call it, you know, the impact engine, because it is the engine in the book. The book talks about the engine that's responsible for driving the impact for the organization. So our subtitle is Accelerating Strategy Delivery, which is why every single one of you are there. So anybody that's listening to this, you have a pretty target audience, right? These are mostly PMO and project management people. That if that's what you're trying to do, is accelerate the delivery of your organization strategy, this book is for you.
Yeah, no, I think we have a lot of there's a lot of leaders in the community, and also maybe people who are just starting.
Yeah.
So I think that it probably just goes into, I feel so full of great information from all that you're presenting right now. It's unfortunate that in my domain, and I work in healthcare.
Yeah.
I think there's some big misconceptions that you were talking about.
Yep.
And it's very difficult to, some people are even asking, what is exactly a PMO? Is it just an office for project managers? And I find that really funny.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
well, so it's, and that's the thing, is that that's the problem. I just interviewed, so this is coming out before our Impact Summit, which is the largest and longest running virtual conference for PMO and transformation leaders, project leaders all around the world. It's been running since 2018, and it's truly a global event. Joe and Rachel, they're speaking at it this year. We've got a lot of big influencers from around the world that are joining us, which is awesome, because the last year we're doing it in this format. So we, one of the people that I interviewed this year was Linka Pincott, she's the chief of staff for PMI, the Project Management Institute Global. Last year we had Pierre. Pierre spoke at our conference last year, and the two CEOs before Pierre spoke at our conference. This year I wanted Linka, and the reason is she and I met when we were in Saudi Arabia at the Global Project Management Forum, which is where I got to meet Joe for the first time in person. Lots of hugs and selfies together, and she's running PMI's. Well, in her department, she's the chief of staff. She has PMI's enterprise PMO. And so we were talking about what PMOs are and what they're not, and where PMO leaders struggle. And so we actually have her speaking at our Impact Summit about that very thing. But what we're talking about is the PMO the CEO will love, right? Pierre loves the PMO he has now under Linka, because she is driving a business focused function where she is developing project people into business leaders, right? So the PMO, yes, you can have your templates, tools, and process, but it is not there to be the templates, tools, and process police. People are confused. They keep confusing the means with the end. And so one of the reasons a lot of people around the world struggle with what is a PMO and what is it not, is because it should be the answer to the business problems your organization has, which means there is no one size fits all. There cannot, by definition of what it must do, be a one size fits all definition. That's why there's so much struggle, is that you can't say, well, you should have your PMO like this. That's why my early PMOs, once I figured out what I was doing, was building PMOs, and I started like reading all these books and taking these classes from the experts at the time. Some of it was pretty bad advice, frankly, because it kept saying, you, like, the books would be like this thick. It'd be like, you should do all of these things if you want your PMO to be good. And I'm like, okay, well, this is a lot of stuff. Okay, let's do it. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, all my stakeholders are like, stop, what are you doing? You're ruining everything, right? Because what was happening is that I was being taught that the means was where my value was, not the end. Right. And that's the mistake that a lot of people make. And I do talk about this a little in the book, is that let's take, for example, project managers. Project managers are often hired based on their certifications. And when you do that, I'm not saying you shouldn't have certifications. I've been PMP certified for 20 years and have other certifications after my name. I think that they can see on the screen right here, right? So an Agile Leadership Certification, ProSci Change Management, PMP, and then our own Impact Engine System certification for PMO and transformation leaders specifically, and consultants. And what we try to make sure people understand is, just because you were hired for that, that doesn't mean that's where your value is, right? That's the mistake. A lot of let's take project managers. They're hired for their certifications. Therefore, they think I am valuable because of my certification. So what do? They double down on trying to apply every tool in the toolbox to every project every time. So, PMBOK, for example, which a huge fan of. I have two very good friends that are on the team creating PMBOK 8 to make sure it talks more about business value. So shout out to Jesse Fuel, who's running that whole project, and Mike Hennon, who's influencing getting investments and value and business into the conversation, which is awesome. Thank you, guys. But what people need to understand is that that's what the organization is for. That's what the team is for. That's what the projects are for. That's you're trying to create the results. But if you think you're hired for your certification and that's where your value is, you might misunderstand that, well, if value is my certification and the PMBOK, for example, is what I learned to create that value, therefore I should apply every single page of the PMBOK to every single project. And that's not how it's meant. You'll notice how like with 7, the PMBOK changed to kind of have, the practice guide and standards kind of stuff kind of, separated out a little. So here's the things you can do, but then let's put some common sense around it, right? Like project people need to understand that that's not where your value is. Nobody actually cares about your certifications. What they care about is that, does this mean you know how to do the things to get me the outcome I'm looking for? Right? Like that's what the business leaders are asking for. So going back to my interview with Linka, where we're talking about the PMO the CEO will love, her PMO is about creating outcomes, not outputs. That's one of the concepts we teach in the book. Her PMO is about helping these project people understand how to speak the language of the business, right? She's also on the podcast, which will be coming out soon as well, talking about how do you talk to your executives? How do you translate to business speak for your executives, right? Project managers get so excited, and I'll geek out with the best of them, right? On all the projecty stuff. But all that geeking out on project stuff needs to be like kept in our circles. And then when we go talk to executives, we need to speak their language, right? So all of that is to say, there's so much opportunity for, like, stop trying to define all PMOs, right? Stop wasting time trying to say, well, you should call it a PMO and it should do these things. Your PMO, or whatever you want to call it, which, by the way, I still say let your executive name it, because then you'll know the outcomes they're looking for. Your PMO is there to solve business problems, not project problems. And when you understand that, and when you reorganize what you do and how you do it to lean into that, you're having a completely, that's where your seat at the table comes from. Go fix business problems. Can you use project management to do it? Heck yeah. But it's how we frame it, how we talk about it, and why we do it. It's not about, we need projects to be on time, on scope, on budget. Nobody cares if it doesn't achieve the business goal. Nobody cares how on time, on scope, on budget it is. If the business goal, the outcome that project was meant to drive, if that is not achieved, nobody cares how perfect your Gantt chart was, right? And so I think that's the shift. That's all in the beginning of the book.
Oh yeah.
Like
Okay.
that's the shift we have to make. And so when you say, like, so I wrote the book for PMO and transformation leaders. I wrote it for the executives that support those people because they want to accelerate strategy delivery. But at the end of the day, there are so many leadership lessons, business knowledge, business understanding, how to become a strategic business partner. All of that is woven throughout the chapters of the book, that anybody that is in the project management space will benefit from what this book teaches, because you're going to see your role in a completely different way. And when you do, you've unlocked an endless opportunity for your career and for the impact that you can help others make. And that's what's so super cool about this. And that's why it took me a decade to write it, and 15 years before that doing it, and then 5 years before that doing all the business transformation and big organizational change stuff. Is it took me 30 years to be so sure that this stuff works, not just for me, but for everybody else, that I can say with certainty now that this book and what I teach, if you do it, it works. It just does. And that's why I'm on a mission. That's why I spend so much. Listen, I put a lot of stuff in my life on hold to make this book a reality, because I believe so much that it's going to change people's lives. And it already has. Like we had early readers that we've got. My publisher would only give me 6 pages. So in the beginning of the book, we had a whole bunch of people that read what we were teaching and then applied it in their organization. So we have like pages and pages of endorsements from people that read the book and were applying what was in the book, or that are mastermind students or impact engine system students that proved it worked, right? Like they've already proven it works. And and they wanted to scream and tell the world about it, right? So now that's my job. I'm on a mission to ensure that everybody in the world that needs this book gets it in their hands. So So we can talk about that as well if you like,
Yeah,
how we're going to get this into people's
that
hands.
was my next question. You know, how do you plan to bring more of the book out there? For example,
Sure.
are you thinking about an audio version?
Ah, okay.
Your voice would be really good for that.
I got you, girl. Okay, so let me just tell you. So I want to say this: writing a book that changes lives, that is for someone, not about something, is is hard. Very, 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 very hard. At least it was for me. And I'm a mother with now a teenager. And when I started this journey, he was much younger. We moved during that time. We've had a lot of life changes. I've been running a consulting and training and coaching business for 11 years during all of this. So for me, it was hard because I didn't do what Mike did, my friend Mike Hannon, and just like stop everything and write it in 2 months, right? I like tried to do everything else first. And I actually talk about that in the book with a concept, one of those Kendallisms about picking three. So I won't give it away here, but that actually I just talked to him about it on the podcast. I think that just came out in the last week. So you can find Kendall's podcast out there now on the PMO Strategies podcast, which is where I give so much of our stuff away for free. And we talk about the pick three and what that actually meant and why it took so long for me to get the book out in the world. But because I wasn't picking three and then I learned how. Um, but
You're
yes,
overwhelmed.
what's that?
Is it related to the feeling of being overwhelmed and then just pick three?
So sort of, yeah. It's just it's a great story. So I definitely go check out the podcast because it's out there, and I think the podcast episode is called "Picking Three" or "Pick Three." But it's about what we tried to get everybody else to do, which is to prioritize their projects and prioritize their focus. And yet, we, all of us PMO and project people, I believe we are in the business we're in because we like to help people, because we like to make an impact, or we like to help people, or we like to solve problems, or we're really good at bringing people together and getting them to do stuff. Like my family's like, you're always tasking us. I was like, you got that right, right? We're good at those kinds of things, right? So we go into this field because of that. But the problem is that those good intentions can get in your way, because what can happen is that you can say yes to things you probably shouldn't. And I don't believe in saying no, but so I teach another concept in the book about shifting the language away from don't tell people no, because that's going to shut down conversation. But there's two little words you can use instead, which are real game changers to how you prioritize, how you focus your time and your energy, etc. So many good things. If we went into all of those, oh my gosh. But speaking of me talking about the concepts from the book, yes, I did actually create an audiobook, and it is so close to being done as of the time of this recording. I should have the final product in my hands in about a week. Thank goodness. But we're doing some pretty cool things for people that are pre-ordering the book, which this is probably a good time to talk about that, because I think that will be super helpful for people, like if they'd rather listen than read, etc. The book's birthday is September 10th. So this will be out in the world before September 10th. But I am personally a pretty impatient person. So didn't want to make my readers wait until the book birthday for it to show up. So if you order it on Amazon, or there's actually people like different places you can buy the book all around the world, which you can just go to the book website and click on order, and it'll show you all the places in different countries where you can buy the book now. So that it can show up for you around September 10th, depending on where you are. But if you order the book before that book birthday on September 10th, all you have to do is go back to the website impactenginebook.com and upload your receipt, and my team will give you access right away to the digital version of the book, just like you have that digital version, so that you can start reading it now, because we're doing a book launch party on September 10th. And that book launch party is where we're going to be talking about this book that people have been reading all summer. Like my mastermind students, they get something pretty cool. They get a special edition of this book. And actually, my version, I think, looks like that, with a letter from me inside the front cover that is only in those special edition books. And I sign every single one of those books. So my mastermind students have already been reading it for they got them back in like May, June timeframe. And I've also had a few special like bulk orders done for different events where people like all over the Middle East and other places have already been reading the book. But if you don't have your physical, if you haven't ordered your physical copy yet, you can order that at all of the different places. You can go get the book. You just click on impactenginebook.com and go under order. Just upload the receipt as soon as you placed your order. And you only have to buy one. And then my team will say, I got you. Here's the digital version. Start reading it now. And we're doing some bonuses and some special things that when people, I think it's 5 books. If you buy them for your team, you also get access to the audiobook at no charge.
It's amazing.
So, yeah. And the more you buy, the more bonuses you get. And depending on how many you get, we've got all kinds of goodies we're giving away. But even just having one copy of the book, at the end of every chapter in the book, I think after the first chapter, there is this section at the end of every chapter where I ask you to actually take action on what you're learning. And there's a really important reason behind that.
You're
Um,
testing them.
Oh, heck yeah, I am. Well, but here's why. Because, and this is really important. Let me see if I've got it in. I know it's in one of these. We've got some cool, like, kind of things to think about in the book. Let me see if I can. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find one like now really quick because I've got here. What's really funny is that you see all these little markers in the book that it's hard to see on camera, but there's a whole bunch of them. All of those are like, ooh, I want to do a podcast episode on that. Ooh, this is a good thing to do a little short video on YouTube for. Ooh, so one of the things we did in the book was put these big quotes of things I wanted people to remember. Right. So this says knowledge alone is not power. It's the application of that knowledge that drives real impact. So what that means is I don't want you to just like sit and get and listen. I want you to immediately go do something with it. That's why our impact engine system training and implementation program students are so successful, is that they do something with what they've learned. Right. It's about it, if you do the work, it will work. Right. So what we've done is at the end of every single chapter in the book, when I teach you something, the next thing I want you to do is immediately go apply what you learned to your situation, your organization, your team. Or, if you don't have any of that, then you can go like in our training implementation program, we have a case study for people that are like, I want to be a PMO leader, but I'm not yet. So they can use a case study to work towards their certification, applying what they learn, because I don't care about what you learn. I care about how you use that knowledge to make impact, right? So at the end of every chapter, we have this make an impact box where I get you to think about something you just learned and then go do something. And so we have templates for all the chapters, templates you can download. Some of them are worksheets or exercises. Some of them are like, a template, like a stakeholder engagement plan or things like that that you need to use. So every chapter has a template for you to go download from the website to go apply what you're learning. And you have that already, right? Because you have that digital version. So right there on the materials tab, for everybody that pre-orders the book, they'll get the digital version. And in that digital version, then we have all the downloads of all of the different templates and worksheets and things we have for people to apply it. So I think that's a really important part of this process, is actually applying what you've learned, because that's where the change happens. That's where the impact is real. That's where you actually start to see the needle moving. And so that's why we did all of that for our students. So or anybody that buys the book. So if people are interested now, they're like, great, that's fine, but it's not available till September. I got you. You just upload your receipt so we know you're getting the hard copy, so that we'll give you the digital copy to start looking at now. And then when you show us a receipt that has there's a whole bunch of bonuses and additional things if you buy them for your team, extra goodies and training and resources we're giving people. And that's because I'm actually really trying to change the world with this thing. So the more people that have it in their hands, the better. And that's the thing a lot of people don't understand about this whole book process that was interesting for me to learn. The more people that buy the book, the more people that buy the book, right? And so the more people read the book and tell other people about it, and then write reviews to say, here's what I thought about it. Listen, I just want your honest review, good, bad, or ugly. I don't care. Just say something, because it means that change is happening. Right. And I already know that it's going to work for a lot of people because we've proven it. Right. But the more noise we create about this, the more I'm convinced we will be able to get that needle moving for companies and PMO people that are trying to do really important things in the world. Not everybody knows about it. I'm all over LinkedIn, but I'm not everywhere, right? And so how do we make sure that everybody that's me back in 1999 trying to figure out how to do this the hard way, how do we find all of those people and get this book in their hands so that they can start feeling more confident, valued in their organization, know exactly what to do, what order to do it in, how to do it, and the resources and templates and guides and all that to help them. Like, we can change the world, right? Like, for real. Like, so that's what it's all about. And I got to tell you, not just the mental and physical and emotional energy, but I put 6 figures into making this book a reality myself, my own personal money, to bring this book to life. From everything we're doing to create it, to make it this pretty and beautiful, to have all the cool resources that we have inside of it, all of that, the audiobook, the ebook that will be available on Amazon, and then we're looking at where else we can get the ebook format available. All of that is so that we can get it into as many people's minds and hearts as possible. Because when we do, we're gonna. This is the beginning of a pretty big movement that's coming.
That's beautifully spoken. And I think that to I guess conclude that you said we are changing lives, and I think that's important for this book to be spread around quickly.
Thank you.
If it's a we activity.
That is. I even talk about a concept I learned my journey called How Might We, right? Which is all about the we. It's how opening possibilities might, like how is like the what's it going to take to get done. Might is opening possibilities, and we is we're doing this together, right? Like, this is all of us together. That's why I love the PMO leader community. That's why I love all of the great work all the volunteers are doing. And then that's why we do the work we do. That's why we co-founded a bunch of us PMO influencers, International PMO Day. It's about we, right? We have to do this together. And this book is just my way of investing in the we that is the future of PMOs and strategy delivery for organizations. So, I encourage everybody to check out our podcast, the PMO Strategies Podcast. Definitely pre-order the book so you can get all kinds of templates and bonuses and resources, and read it now and not have to wait. Like, I want you to read it yesterday, right? And then tell me what you're applying. Tell me how it's working for you. And then I'd love for people to join us at our Impact Summit on the week of September 9th to 13th, because I'm doing a book launch birthday party on September 10th. But then everybody that has pre-ordered the book and has uploaded that receipt for my team so we can track you, we'll get a special personal invitation from me to join me for a private exclusive workshop at the summit on September 12th, which is only for people that have the book in their hands or on their electronics, that actually has the book, because we're going to dive deep into some things in the book. And my mastermind students are saying that what people probably really want is to understand how to show more value with their PMO, and to be able to talk about it, and to be able to engage stakeholders differently, and to speak to their executives differently, and give them the confidence and the tools and the framework, and coach them through the process of understanding how to truly elevate their PMO or their transformation team to accelerate the delivery of their organization strategy. So that's what we're going to be diving into in that workshop, is actually, I want people to apply what we teach, because then they'll get the same results that all of our students have been getting.
That's amazing. We'll put more links and useful resources when we send out the recording, so that people have it handy.
For
To
sure.
all those great activities that you talked about. But it was, I think, because we're coming to an end of the discussion, I guess last question would be, who's your dream we team supporting you to get the masterpiece book out?
So, well, certainly AJ, right? Because she's been on this journey. Listen, I can't tell you how many years, because she was with me pretty early in the process, AJ Harper, and she's like, "Girl, we just got to get this book out of you," right? Because she saw the passion and the vision and I actually she's in the acknowledgments in the back of the book, and she's actually The dream team is a lot of people that are in the back of my book as the acknowledgments of like, I couldn't have done this without you, right? So there's a bunch, but I can definitely highlight AJ, because if she hadn't been there, there's no way this book would have come out in the world. And I actually say at the end of the book, and finally, to my book coach and friend AJ Harper, thank you for being my steadfast companion on this book birthing journey. Without your wisdom, insight, encouragement, and commitment, this book simply would not have been born. I am forever grateful for your undying support and friendship over the years. You are last on this list, not in priority, but because you have been with me from the start of this idea to the very last page. So she's a perfect example of that. And then I would say, but even still, with all of her years of encouragement, if my dear friends Mike Hannon and Kendall Lott, who I talk about a lot in the book, and I mentioned Mike and his book here, and Kendall's on the podcast this, I think it's this week or last week, they sat me down because we support each other with our businesses. They sat down and we talk about each other's businesses and the challenges we're having and what we're trying to accomplish. And I once again was complaining that I didn't have time to work on the book. And remember, Kendall's the pick 3 guy, right? And so Kendall's like, because you didn't put it in your top 3, right? He's like, so he's yelling at me, right? You didn't put it in your top 3. That's why it doesn't exist. And Mike said to me, we were sitting in my living room, just in another part of the house that I'm in right now, and because we get together in person for every couple times a year, and Mike said, "What would have to happen for me not to hear those words out of your mouth a year from now?" you know, like that is a dream
Very
team.
different approaches.
People are like in your face. Like I am like the mama bear to my mastermind community. I will cry with them. I will cheer them on. But I will also give them the tough love they need to hear sometimes. And sometimes you're really good friends. They're the ones that are willing to say that to you. And so I said, okay, all right. I would need this. I would need this. I would need this. This is what would have to happen. And Mike came and worked in my company for the last year and a half to help me relieve me of things that I had to take off of my plate in order to be able to work on the book, because it's a huge investment in time if you're trying to write a top 3, if you're trying to write a book that changes lives, right? And so he put his money where his mouth was and said, all right, if you say this is what you need, I'm going to help you with this and I'm going to help you with that. And Kendall said, okay, we're going to do this and this is how it's going to happen. So those are examples of people that had to really come together and be a part of this dream team. But I would be absolutely remiss if I didn't mention my son and my husband and the sacrifices they had to make. Certain things I couldn't do with my kid because I was focused on writing and I needed my writing time. So, my husband has put his dream business on hold to help me build this business and to give me space to be able to create this book. And I have a strong team of people that work at PMO Strategies. We have an entire operations team. So huge shout out to Ruby and to John and to Abby and Corinne, my operations and project manager that manages all that work, and Chase, who runs our sales and partnerships. Like without those people, and then folks like Mike and Beth and others that do our consulting work, without those people, like I would have had to be doing those things instead of writing the book, right? So there's people. I'm so glad you asked that question, because so many people don't talk about what it actually takes to make a book like this happen. And it's not just the author, right? Like other people had to make space for that author to be able to do that work. And other people had to remove barriers for them or help them or support them or guide them. My mastermind students have been a constant source of inspiration and good examples. Our clients, my favorite CEO that I talk about in the book, Joel, I love that guy. He's like the perfect example of a client that does what you tell him to do. And because of that, he's wildly successful. Like we've worked together for years in 2 different organizations. So the idea is that there's like, and I only have so much space for acknowledgments in the book, but the entire project management for change and project management day of service volunteer team for helping us change the world with nonprofits. There's so many people that make a book happen. it's not the author. The author has to put their heart and soul into it. And I certainly invested a lot of that time, money, energy, resources, focus, but only because other people were willing to make sacrifices or step in or remove barriers so that I could.
That is the perfect ending. And
Thank
we, we send all our appreciation to all this huge remarkable team that you had behind to support you. I think some of those acts are amazing. Somebody just coming in and relieving you of certain things. It's
you.
just
Yeah, huge. Like
that's
there's no way I could have, if any one of those people had not stepped up to the challenge of helping make sure that this book happened, it wouldn't have happened. So I owe them so much. And like, for my mastermind students, they got gifts with this book signed and a whole bunch of other goodies and gifts and this nice gold packaging and everything, because I was just like, without you, none of this matters. Right. So I think it's super important that we take the time to not only acknowledge the wins, but the people that helped us get where we are. And like I mentioned, Lee Lambert being a supporter and a coach for me and a friend, encouraging me when things got hard for 20 years, right? Like I've got people like that have been on this journey with me. And I mention a lot of them in the book. So many dear friends and colleagues that kept me going when the going got tough. So it takes a village for sure.
well, we're very happy that you had this village, and we're happy that people like this exist in the world, because that's how impact is
That's impact,
made.
baby.
That's it. And we just leave the audience with a straightforward go and get the book.
Please
And
do.
because it will work, but you have to follow the tasks, follow the
Right.
journey, enjoy it. And then if they want to reach you, if they want to reach you in particular for any questions, they would just go on to the Impact Engine website and just use a contact form, or would
Yeah,
LinkedIn
the
be more?
best place Yeah, the best place to find me is LinkedIn. That's where I'm having most of my conversations and meeting with PMO people from all around the world and transformation leaders, et cetera. So the best place to find me is LinkedIn. And but if you're looking for free resources and support, we have we got the PMO Strategies podcast, we have the Impact Summit, we have and then we have training and implementation programs and coaching programs and resources for every level in that journey, so that from the most experienced to the least experienced, we've got you. We meet you where you are, and we take you on the journey that is custom to the business goals you're trying to accomplish, personal goals you're trying to accomplish, because we've been in your shoes. We know what it's like, and it should be easier. And so we're trying to do everything we can. There's no easy button. You still have to do the work, but we can make it a lot easier, a lot less frustrating, and get you the results much faster. And that is our meaningful work. That's why we do what we do.
Excellent. Laura, thank you so much for sharing your passion with us and
Thank
making an impact of this episode.
Thank you so very much.
We hope to see you again, and maybe meet in during the summit and with other conferences and events that are upcoming. But yeah, we hope you had a good time.
Well, for sure. Anytime I get to serve this community, I am doing the work I'm meant to do. So it means the world to me, and I feel pretty darn lucky that I'm able to do this.
Well, there's no better ending.
So thank you.
Thank you with that. Thank you, and it's a wrap. We'll be touching base with other episodes of Books and Beyond in the near future. But
Thank you
it's
so
a
much
bye
for
for now.
having me.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, everybody.